tell ya, I was a little bummed about the future of the Scarlet Witch after first seeing Multiverse of Madness, but in making my notes for this video about what's in store for her most likely going forward, I think everything's gonna be okay. And for those of you who share my concerns, I hope you feel better by the end of this video as well. I look forward to having a dialogue with you down below. So yes, Wanda's character development is a bit of a mess right now, and we're gonna try and sort through that. But what's undeniable is that she has become super popular. We love to see it. And because of that, don't worry, Wanda stans, despite the ending of Multiverse of Madness, the Scarlet Witch definitely still lives. Oh, and you'll most likely see her next in Agatha Harkness's Disney Plus series, which we should be hearing more about very soon. Because Agatha and Wanda now have a lot to discuss, as they've both been corrupted by the Darkhold and gone full villain and killed, which doesn't sit right with some WandaVision fans. Wanda will be like, I'm so sorry I judged you, Agatha. And Agatha will be like, that's okay. We women have to stick together. But anyway, right now what you're seeing in the MCU is a reckoning between how Wanda, aka the Scarlet Witch, has been portrayed in the comics for decades, and how WandaVision, under the direction of Jack Schaefer, who admitted to not reading very many Marvel comics, tried to modernize the character for today's audiences, giving her more agency over her actions and more nuance to her motivations. And Michael Waldron didn't watch. Everybody's not doing their job. Jack Schaefer didn't read the comics. Michael Waldron and Sam Raimi didn't watch WandaVision. It's ridiculous. Why doesn't Kevin Feige make them sit down and do this? But anyway, in the comics, Scarlet Witch has been the Dark Phoenix, basically, without Jean Grey. Just a malevolent force warped by dark magic and the Elder God Chthon specifically. Basically, Wanda's version of the Phoenix Force. Whenever Jean Grey is around and someone brings up the Phoenix Force, or in any X-Men stories, everyone's like, oh, we know where this is heading. Well, if you have a Scarlet Witch or a mystical story coming up and Chthon is mentioned, well, now you know what's going to likely go down. Chthon is the one who was responsible in the comics for the Darkhold. He wrote the Darkhold, which of course is what made Agatha evil. So he's behind all of this. I don't know how I feel about it that it's a dude who's behind all these women acting poorly, but whatever. I know a lot of you don't want to have that conversation. I can't help it. That's the conversation we're having. All right, so in the comics, Wanda started out just having a hex power, creating bad luck, like Black Cat over in the Spider-Man comics, or the opposite of Domino, the mutant who creates good luck. Eventually, though, the comics have never known what to do with Wanda, which is why she, like Wonder Woman, who the comics have also never really made a definitive choice with. She's gone back and forth between, teacher and warrior. Wanda also has been all over the place. So at one point they were like, okay, well, maybe Wanda's more of a mystical superhero, with characters like Agatha Harkness introduced in the comics, and demonic elements like creating her children using fragments of long story short, Mephisto's soul. So then as the years went on from that, Wanda evolved again, gaining the ability to manipulate and rewrite reality itself, which was used in the House of M for her to create an entirely new reality to escape from, and she brought everyone along with her. Sound familiar? We'll get to that in a moment. And then at the end of that story, once that didn't work out, because everybody else didn't want to go along with that, she used her powers to wipe almost all mutants from the face of the earth. So as you can see, creating a different reality was used for WandaVision, but losing her mind and actually killing those who stood in her way as she searches for her children, well, that was used for Multiverse of Madness, and it's actually out of order. Avengers Disassembled, the inspiration for Multiverse of Madness, came first, and then she escaped into the House of M, which is WandaVision. But now that they've told the story, it's like, I think that's one of the reasons it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now in the comics, Wanda killed. It was believed Agatha Harkness. They only found her body, but they had a pretty good idea of who did it. She definitely killed Scott Lang. Scott Lang, that's right. Paul Rudd's character in the MCU. Jack of Hearts, Hawkeye twice. She killed him in Avengers. Well, she was responsible for him dying in Avengers Disassembled, and then she killed him in the House of M. In that alternate universe. She also used Vision as a weapon herself. She weaponized Vision, and then when that didn't turn out so well because Vision was resisting, she had She-Hulk. She controlled She-Hulk and had She-Hulk rip Vision apart. So as you can see, there is a precedent in the comics for Wanda's behavior in Multiverse of Madness, which is why some fans are totally cool with it. But it does ignore how the character was evolved in WandaVision, and that's, I think, the problem that some other people have with it. Now, as for the comics today, you might be like, well, what's going on with Wanda today? There ain't nothing going on with Wanda today. I think most recently someone killed her on Krakoa, the mutant island paradise. I didn't even read that comic. It was so bad. But, Wanda's rarely the star of her own stories. She's usually a pawn in someone else's, which is really unfortunate, which is why we loved WandaVision so much. But she's just not a particularly popular character. She comes in and out. And even in the recent critical and fan-lauded Vision series, comic book series, he was with someone else. I think Wanda showed up briefly. Now, is it cool? It is cool to see Wanda finally become the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. Not just in terms of her substantial powers and her costume, but with the lore as well. Those were some nice boxes to check. Mount Wundagore is officially introduced into the MCU. I wish it was the mount in the end of WandaVision, but whatevs. Maybe it is. But you think she would have mentioned that, being like, that's crazy. I live right down from here. I wish she had said that. And the demon henchmen look a lot like Chthon does sometimes in the comics, which I thought was a nice touch. I thought the demonic mountain stronghold was pretty cool. A throne, as Wanda called it. I don't know, I think having her actual picture there was a bit much, but they kept saying she was prophesied. The Scarlet Witch of Prophecy. I was like, well, all right, I'll go along with it. And I thought her powers in the movie at some points were very visually compelling and showed real potential for going forward. So if Doctor Strange represents the intellectual exploration of sorcery, the Scarlet Witch represents the dark occult aspects of sorcery, or as they put it in the MCU now, sorcery versus witchcraft. What's the difference? I don't know. I don't think they'll ever probably explain it. But one of the difference seems to be maybe runes, although I thought Doctor Strange sometimes used runes already. But they said that was one of the reasons, that was one of the things that gave Wanda away, that there were runes controlling that demon in the first fight in the movie. And then also, one of you pointed out that the reason they did music notes in that final battle was because they needed runes, and that was the only thing around them that was written down that was like that. That was kind of a good idea. I wish they'd explained it, although I guess he was fighting a sinister Strange who had become a warlock because he used the Darkhold. It's too complex. They got to explain these rules better so we can follow them along. But if that had been explained, I think better, then maybe I could get behind the magic fight. That would maybe make it make a little bit more sense. But anyway, as we know, Scarlet Witch ain't the only witch in Marvel Comics or in the MCU. There's also, of course, Agatha Harkness, who has that Disney Plus series coming up. And Agatha's stronghold and her origin story in WandaVision had horror elements already. So I'd be okay with keeping horror elements for the witchcraft elements of the MCU going forward, to distinguish it from sorcery. Meanwhile, Clea is a great example, who we just met at the end of the movie, as a female sorcerer instead of a witch, right? So what's the difference? One's a little more like space themed than the other one, I guess. A little more trippy. And there are other witches we can use as well in going forward in the Agatha Harkness show. There's Asgard's Enchantress, who appeared in the original Scarlet Witch and Vision comic book, which is why we had already expected to see her in WandaVision, but she never showed up. There's also Magic from the comics and the recent New Mutants movie. And another mutant, Selene, the Black Queen, sometimes, of the Hellfire Club. And Nico Minoru, whose mother was in the first Doctor Strange movie, but darker elements of her Staff of One have been introduced in the comic. So she would probably fit better with this witchcraft definition. But bottom line, I think that after what's happened to Wanda, what she's done, the only person she can really turn to who will understand it is Agatha Harkness. That's pretty cool. And maybe on the flip side, Agatha is the only one who's willing to reach out to Wanda after all this because she understands it. Too bad Wanda put her in, trapped her in a spell. Maybe someone will release Agatha and Agatha will get out. But I think those two crazy ladies are going to come together. Honestly, I feel bad calling them two crazy ladies. That's not good. All right. And also, let's get Vision back in here. We also know that at some point, Wanda's twins will have to come back into the picture because we need our fan favorites, Wiccan and Speed. I know a lot of you like to challenge fan favorites. Wiccan and Speed are, well, just really Wiccan, but definitely a fan favorite. I did watch the recent Heartstopper show on Netflix, and it's crazy how that's basically Wiccan and Hulkling. I'm like, just get those two actors. You've got them. Will Agatha, who in the comics is their nanny as children, be the one who finally helps Wanda get her children back after she tried to kill them? Maybe redemption can be the main theme of the Agatha Harkness Disney Plus show. But again, as I said, expect to hear some developments about that show soon, especially since Wanda is proving to be so powerful at the box office, the most important MCU power of them all. On that note, what about the rumors of Wanda's own solo movie? Should she go back to the small screen? Although, of course, that's proven to be very beneficial for actors, so there's nothing wrong with getting Disney Plus. But I think she's shown that she can, compete at the multiplex. So Agatha's show could be all about bringing Wanda back and then finding her children the subject of her solo movie. I like that. I like that a lot. That would be the Children's Crusade comic. In that one, Wanda's children are actually reincarnated as two separate boys and two separate families. That could be a way to fix this. So they're already older, and they find each other first, and then they go about finding their mother, who has disappeared after House of M. They find her in Latveria, where she's engaged to Dr. Doom. What craziness! I feel bad. I'm going to try not to use that term to describe Wanda anymore, because it bothers me. But anyway, also, there's a rumor that Dr. Doom will soon be showing up in the MCU, so it's all starting to fit together, maybe. I think that's actually the best guess, considering how popular Scarlet Witch has become. Tease her return with the Agatha Harkness show. Make it all about Wanda showing up in episode 6. We know it's going to be 6 episodes. Have Wanda show up and maybe some other witches throughout the show. That would be so amazing. And then it's all about maybe going to get Wanda. And then the Children's Crusade, we have Wiccan and Speed pop up and some other teenagers, and they go and find her just like they did in the comic. And let's get Vision back in here. I mean, that's fine. We can have a love triangle with Vision, Doom, and Wanda. I don't think Wanda ever really liked Doom. She was just, having a rough week. He was her rebound. But anyway, what do you think of the continued evolution of Wanda, aka the Scarlet Witch, as the MCU tries to be faithful to the source material, but also evolve the character for modern audiences? And let's get everybody reading the source material and other people's work so this stuff's a little bit more organized, right? I would think that's the least we can do. And what would you like to see happen going forward for the Scarlet Witch corner of the MCU? I love that, boy. I love that a lot. All right, share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.